What this is about is one question. Does citizens, all citizens, have a right to petition their government about concerns about how that government is operating? That's what this is about. The state code allows for citizens to be able to do that. The state code of Virginia, the law of Virginia, has a process for how that happens. Local government has a process for how that gets to happen. It is written into the agenda of every city council meeting. It is allowing citizens to come with their concerns or comments or attaboys, whatever. There is a process for that. That's simply what this is. There's a concern. That concern has been voiced. City council has been given ample time to respond. They have done none of that. They have not responded in any way. And then there's, beyond city council, there is another process that is available to citizens, and that's what this is about.
Well, who are you listing? Talk about the two people. Why are you listing these two people in the complaint form?
Well, the concern is that there may be activity on council by council persons, some in particular, one very specifically relative to the emails, who are engaging in activities that are inappropriate for them to do in the function of their duties, even in a way that could be construed as abuse of power or conflict of interest. And the intent is to get at the truth. If that's what's happening, let's understand that. If it's not, well, let's clear that up as well. And so there's at least one council person, potentially another, and some specific decisions by city council that has brought these concerns to the surface.
And the two people that you're naming are?
Well, Councilman Garland, who is directly involved in the emails that went out, that clearly shows that he initiated actions against a local nonprofit that involved questioning whether or not they should still be operating. And then enlisting city staff people, initiating action on the part of city staff against that nonprofit. But what the councilman did not divulge is that he had purchased a property right across the street from this nonprofit. And there's some evidence that he may have been engaged in the same behavior against another for-profit entity next to that nonprofit, as he has sought to purchase property along that strip, which is 11th Street Northwest. With respect to Councilwoman Dykstra, there are some significant concerns around the Villa Heights mansion and the city's selling of that property, that historic property, for $1 to a nonprofit that may be connected to both these council persons. Councilwoman Dykstra ultimately is benefiting from that sale because the organization that she's the executive director of, the Boys and Girls Club, are going to be the main tenant in that property. The property comes with $250,000 in insurance money, and recently council agreed to give up a significant portion of adjacent public property. It's a park, Villa Heights Park, to that property. So now they benefit from $250,000 and additional city land that goes with that property. And the question becomes, was everything appropriate, and was it is the relationship, the potential relationship between the two council persons and the nonprofit that bought the building, was that clear? Is there a relationship, and if it was that made clear to city council, and is that part of the record? Otherwise, there are concerns about, again, conflicts of interest, especially since you're talking about $250,000 of public money. And the value of public property that also has been conveyed to this group as well.
And you say you brought these concerns to City Council?
Absolutely.
When was that?
Well, on the two occasions. One occasion was, I think it's been about a month ago, attended City Council and raised the concerns about Councilman Garland's engaging in activities, getting city staff to do specific things that could potentially benefit him privately. as a real estate developer and an investor, particularly having to do with land or overlooking Coca-Cola plant. That has been set aside in the deal, and we can talk about that if you want. But that was one concern, and that he is buying up property along specific corridors that, as a councilman, he may have information about in terms of the city's future development intentions. That again could ultimately benefit him personally. So, and then came back again more recently at in the third Monday meeting at 2 o'clock, and then again that evening at the public hearings where the Villa Heights issue came up, but also referenced this again because in between those meetings we came across the emails that really seemed to substantiate our concerns about what Councilman Garland has been engaged in.
So was this the November meetings or the December?
No, this was in December meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Specifically.
So, Virginia State Police, they have this complaint form now, correct?
Right, and again, the state allows for this process. What happens is if a citizen has some serious concerns they think are serious enough, and they're not getting the answers, the only option you have is to go to the state police to get an investigation, if an investigation into these matters is what you're after. There was a request directly of council at the third Monday meetings, if they would respond in writing regarding the concerns. We have not received a call, we have not received anything in writing. Council has not said anything about this issue as a matter of public record. No response, stonewalling basically is what I call that. And so the only other option a citizen would have is to petition the state police to investigate.
And so where is it right now? They're just processing it?
Well, they're in the middle of processing it as we're also compiling additional data or information for them. That process, once they get all the information, they review that information, and then they ask the Attorney General for permission to investigate. Based on that information.
Have you had a conversation with John Garland and Michelle Dykstra so far about this?
I have not talked to beyond at the end of that third Monday meeting. I was approached by both of them regarding those concerns, and Ms. Dykstra and I talked about generally the concern, but didn't agree on whether or not there was legitimate reason or cause for concern. But then we've learned some things since then that has even increased the concern on that matter. Councilman Garland approached laughing because he thought there was something funny about the emails being reviewed or being shared, to which my response was, I don't think it's funny. The emails are very clear about what he's been doing, including the fact that he engaged counsel around these things and didn't divulge that he initiated through Roanoke staff the whole onslaught of investigation against the nonprofit. The other thing about that, which is important, is for people to understand, is Councilman Garland is a contractor. He's an engineer. He was around that nonprofit. We're talking about the Hope Center in Northwest. He hung around there for months before he became councilman, and months after that. If there were code violations, he was acutely aware of them as a contractor and an engineer. Why did he wait till he purchased the property to raise the concerns?
Across the street.
Across the street. That in my estimation is very telling about what his motivations are.
So reading some of these emails, do you think that, because it can come across as him being concerned for the kids in that particular building, or do you think that he was actually trying to maybe put them out of the building? What do you think?
Well, again, if he was concerned about the kids, he was around there for months and said nothing about the violations. He did not engage city staff, code enforcement people to deal with the Hope Center for months. It wasn't until he purchased the property that he did that. And I think that says it all. Quite frankly, Councilman Garland is a man of means. If he was really concerned, he could have helped the Hope Center do whatever. He has construction crews. He could have resolved the issues working with the Hope Center, but that's not what happened.
And so, have you presented these emails to council?
Yes, I should mention that. On that third Monday afternoon, council, the city manager, the city attorney, and the city clerk, these are all a matter of public record now, they all have copies of those emails, and they did nothing with them. That was the concern that prompted taking this further. Because if you're looking at the emails, and just a cursory view of the emails suggests that something may be not right. And the Virginia Conflict of Interest Act, this I went and pulled a copy of it, which is what governs, what council uses to govern itself around these matters. I mean, the fundamental intent of it is to help ensure that the government will fully represent the public in its operations. And everything about this, everything about that code, that part of the code, is about creating clear lines to avoid conflicts of interest and abuses of power, and that's what this is about.
So let me ask you, how did you get these emails?
Well, I got these emails from someone who those emails were sent to.
Okay. Is this, I guess just from my knowledge, is this person could potentially be directly involved in this, or just this?
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing about the emails. These emails also, if the councilman's concerns were legitimate and about the safety of children in Northwest, okay, if that's what his concerns were, then why were you emailing your business interests, your business partners about these matters? It should have nothing to do with your personal business. You were using city emails on occasion to involve private citizens who, at least two of which, were your personal business and partners, your sons, in matters that you said had to do with the city. So there were, and then even the person I got it from was someone that the councilman was involved in business with that particular property that he purchased on 11th Street. Person in the position to know and obviously receive the emails. So yeah.
Okay. So ultimately, what do you want to be done? You want state police to look into what you're claiming?
Well, what I'd like, and I think any citizen would agree, is for council to be clear about where the lines are, and that's what I asked them at that meeting, for which I got no discussion. There was discussion, but it had nothing to do with responding to the validness of the complaint. Be clear about where the lines are, so that council persons will know what they can and cannot engage in, at the very least. And they have not to date been willing to even take that discussion up or to clarify. I talked with the city attorney on a couple of occasions. They have not asked him to help them understand where the lines are. What I think they're interested, I think they like operating with this broad space where a council person can engage in activities that they should not be engaged in, clearly.
And so they know that you have this documentation, these emails.
They know I have them, they have them, and now the state police have them. The question is, are they going to do anything? And if they're not willing to do anything in the face of this information, what does that suggest? I'm concerned that there are even other concerns that we don't even know about that may involve other council people in terms of behavior like this.
Why, for the person who gave you the emails, why isn't that person bringing these concerns why aren't they bringing these concerns?
Well, I think that person, it's safe to say that person believes that it is in the best interest of getting real discussion that they not be the person. And I agree with them. I agree with that. He has approached other people about doing it and did not get any response. Not a lot of people would want to weigh into this fray. I think I have a 30-year record of volunteering literally tens of thousands of my personal time on behalf of the city and trying to make it a better place. I have been engaged both professionally and privately with city governance and doing and talking, having discussions and working even with the city on a variety of different issues. I care about this in a very real way. I am not, nor will I be a candidate for city council. That is not what this is about. I'm not the least bit interested in that. I am interested in about governance that is accountable. And that's what my primary motivation is.